Thank you for double-clicking your mouse tonight. You're listening to the Midnight Frightcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Midnight Frightcast episode number 31. We're getting up there in the numbers, aren't we, Josh?
31 is like a new record for us.
It kind of is, you know.
31's, it doesn't seem like that high of a number, but it's tough to reach 31. People usually tap out kind of early on the podcast. They're like, oh, this isn't working very well. But
well, and if we were to add the Midnight Frights prior to us taking it over.
If it was added to that, would be at number 68.
Yeah, because I was thinking that was in the 30s as well.
Yeah,
so,
I think we did 37.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite number.
So I'm glad that we've been able to do this. You know, hitting the number, above 30, you said, is a big milestone.
Yeah.
Anyway, but, the fact that we do this no more than once every 2 weeks.
Yeah, twice a month. Yeah,
is usually what we do. But there's been times where we've gone, a month and a half, or even 2 months. If we're shooting film or something like that, we take some time between it. So, hey, high five to us.
Yeah.
There we go. So obviously it's Josh and I today. You didn't hear Greg. You didn't hear Tom. We keep promising there's going to be more than just two.
Yeah, one day.
But people's lives are busy.
Yep.
And that kind of happens. So, hopefully one of these days, we are pushing one of our segments that we wanted to do today to another time, because we do want to have a larger discussion with it. And I think we can go ahead and tease it out what it is.
Yeah. So do you want to do it?
No, it was your baby.
Cool. So I'm an avid podcast listener. So one of my favorite things that people kind of talk about on other podcasts is like, what was the movie that just scared the ever-loving shit out of you and that got you into horror movies? Mm-hmm. Like got you like hooked on just being scared to death. And so I was thinking about that, and then I was like, well, okay, I wasn't around in the 70s and I was a baby in the 80s, but I saw my first horror movie when I was 6, and I remember that movie and what it was and every single part of that movie that just scared the crap out of me. And then going back as I got older, I was like, I went back to watch the older movies. And so I was just like, it would be fun to do like a scariest movie topic from like what movie from each decade just scared the crap out of you.
Right.
So,
and we said that we were going to pick up from the 70s on.
Yeah.
Because, I think I'm the oldest in the group, but I was born in 67, so I would remember very few movies from the, being a 3-year-old at the end of the 60s. So
yeah, and I don't think I ever chased any decade before the 70s.
Right.
I'm sure there are the classic like Frankenstein and stuff like that.
Right.
But I never really chased any of those movies.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really touch on them.
Yeah. Well, I think because the most influential for us probably came around in the 70s.
Yeah, I mean,
I think once people started jumping on the genre and things like that, I think 70s and 80s were probably the biggest hits for us.
Those 2 decades are probably the biggest in the genre.
Right. So we'll be talking about that on a later podcast once we have Greg and Tom back. Even if we have to cattle prod them and get them in here,
go to their houses and kidnap them.
One of these days we should go on the road with this and head up to Omaha, and so Greg doesn't have to come down here all the time.
We could totally do that,
because this is completely portable. This is small. I mean, obviously we took it to Prairie Lights.
We did take it to Prairie Lights.
So yeah, we should do that sometime. So
we should do again this year,
and then have Greg make us food.
Yeah.
And, Em can bring us drinks and,
Yeah, a whole thing.
Yeah, I think that works out great.
That'd be no problem.
Okay, it's decided then.
Yeah. Greg.
That's exactly what we're going to do.
We're going to invade Greg's home.
All right, so we got a few things to talk about today. There's a new trailer that came out, and I saw it in the theaters when I went to see Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
And, Josh, where did you see it?
So I did not see the trailer. I saw a teaser, and all the teaser was a red hat, and it said "Make America Great Again." That was the original teaser I saw.
Okay.
and that was it. That's all it showed.
Interesting.
So this is the first time I've actually seen a current trailer.
The official trailer. Yeah.
So yeah.
And the movie is
The First Purge.
The First Purge.
Yeah.
And I think Josh and I both have seen all the other Purge movies.
Yes.
And have been a fan of them. I know that not all of them have been great, but we've still enjoyed them. So what are your first thoughts after seeing the official trailer then?
Yeah, so I liked the first the Purge.
Right.
And I was a big fan of the Purge election year. And just after watching Anarchy was just rough. But after watching this trailer, it reminded me a lot of the Purge election year.
Right.
That's what, when they took it out to the streets and you saw the chaos actually in the street and you followed a group of people being chased and it got outside of one location and took the chaos just out. Mm-hmm. And that's what it reminded me a lot of. That was my favorite Purge. So I'm really excited for this one. And then to get back to like discovering, I like that they did a prequel and not another continuation of the Purge.
Well, I think that they did it right in the sense of we need to explain this a little bit, and there's a story around it, as opposed to we're just going to we're going to say that it's a Purge, and then you know what's going to happen from then on.
Exactly.
That's kind of what I liked about election year is that there was more of a story around it than the first movie, and like we said, Anarchy's not the best one out there.
Yeah.
But then watching this trailer. I think it may hit some social overtones with this because we're talking government influenced genocide.
Yeah, exactly.
Is what I'm seeing in this trailer because it's implied directly that not as many people are going out and doing what they assumed they were going to be doing.
Yeah.
And so the government steps in and starts taking things into their own hands
to kind of show people like
exactly.
This is what you can do. This is okay.
Right. So yeah, it almost looks like government supported genocide. So,
and you pointed out that Marissa Tomei was in the trailer.
Yes.
I did not recognize her. And then I look closer and sure as shit. I like Marissa Tomei.
I love her as an actress.
She's the only one I really recognize in the movie. I'm not saying that there's not other faces in that movie. I'm saying she's the only one I recognize.
Yep.
And I love that about the Purge movies. Minus the first Purge, there were no real stars in these movies, which makes everybody free. It's a free game. Everybody's in trouble.
Yeah.
You have no idea who could live, who could die, and what's going to happen. And that's what I like about when they do this with horror films, about not casting faces.
Right.
So everybody is just, like I said, free game.
Yeah. Well, and even in the Purge movies, everybody's free game anyway. Even in election year, I was kind of wondering if the people that you assumed would survive were actually going to survive.
Yeah.
So it opens July 4th.
Yeah.
So it's, holiday movie.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
I think it'll do really well too.
I think it's probably a good one to open on July 4th.
They're not really, as far as I know, they're not really going up against anything.
Right.
They've released all of the
summer blockbusters
Marvel,
already.
movies that have come out.
Yeah. When does Ant-Man come out?
That I don't know, but I know the new Jurassic Park movie's coming too.
Yeah.
This summer, I believe. So probably roughly around the same time. But I think The Purge will do really well. I don't know if it'll do well here, but I think overall, it's going to hit, I think.
Yeah.
So.
No, it looks really good. The trailer itself, 2 minutes and 37 seconds long. So it was a long trailer. So that's how we were able to, deduce so much of it.
Yeah. I think they would have done better for themselves cutting that trailer in half.
Probably.
Yeah.
Making people think about it, wonder about it a little bit more. Now, part of the reason you probably didn't recognize Marissa Tomei is because she was blonde-ish in this movie. So, and showing her age a little bit, but aging well.
Yeah, and it's just not like it's a genre movie that she doesn't really live in.
So it'll be interesting to see how she fits into it.
Yeah.
So.
But Yeah, I'm excited.
Now, it's one of those that I may see it in the theater. I may wait till it's on the DVD. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what I'm doing that weekend.
Yeah.
You know,
well, it'll play here for 2 weeks and it'll be gone.
If that much.
Yeah.
With the way Marcus Theaters is around here. Movies like that don't last long.
None at all.
If they get here at all.
It'll get here.
Yeah. I think that's a big enough name that it will get here.
Yeah.
So, cool. It's been a couple weeks since we last met.
Yeah.
What, 2.5 weeks, I think, or it's 3 weeks, I think we're on, and something like that.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
We did the movie that we did last. I don't remember. It was 2 weeks. I think. Yeah.
What movie did we do last time?
It was
that? Oh, the Poughkeepsie tapes.
Yeah, the Poughkeepsie. Yeah. That definitely wasn't last week, though.
Yeah, no, that wasn't. Yeah, I was thinking that was 3 weeks ago. Anyway, so that means that we've had the opportunity to be watching some stuff on our own. So that brings us to our segment. What have you been watching?
Yeah. Do you want to start or you want me to start? I can start. It's cool.
I can start.
Do you want to? How do you? I don't know. You round robin with two people, but do you just want to go through the list?
I'm going to go through my list, and then you'll mention things that make me think of other things. But for me, I didn't have. It's weird because I was busy doing a bunch of other crap. So, but after watching Deadpool 2, and going out, that's at the top of my list. Deadpool 2, thoroughly enjoyed that movie. Not as good as the first one. Most sequels aren't, but still. Really, really enjoyed.
I heard that movie was, so you said, or I heard that the laughs are fewer and there's more story.
There's a lot more story in this one.
But did that make it less enjoyable because of you went in there expecting just to laugh for an hour and a half, or did you enjoy the story?
I think it lost some of its luster because you already know how it's going to be presented to you. Yeah. With breaking the fourth wall, with Deadpool talking directly to the camera, all of that stuff had been done in the first movie. So to see it in the second movie, there were no surprises with stuff like that. Yeah. And you knew it was going to be raunchy. Yep. You knew, so how do they do it without getting too grotesque or anything like that? So I think the laughs were probably less because you were kind of used to it by now. Okay. But yes, there was more story to this one than the first one.
How was Josh Brolin?
He was really good
because he plays Thanos too. Correct?
Yeah, he plays Thanos in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah. And but with that, it's all CGI. Yeah. And with Cable, yes, some of it's CGI, but you get to see his face. You get to see Josh Brolin actually acting in this one. He did a great job as Cable. It's kind of funny because Cable's supposed to be a really, really tall, large man. Okay. And while Josh Brolin did beef up for this role, he's still like 5'10". Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. And so to see him, be shorter than Deadpool was kind of odd. Yeah. But they address it in the movie, which I thought was pretty funny.
There you go.
So, but yeah, he did a really, really good job, and there's a backstory for him as well. So they really did a good job of rounding out this film.
Did they drop don't answer this if you don't want to. Did they drop any type of stinger teaser at the end of the credits for this one? For Deadpool 2. It was like, at the end of the credits they'll drop like the very end of the credits will drop like a scene that might lead you into there's going to be another one.
Like a Deadpool 3? Yeah. Well, when it takes first place in the box office, and everything else. No, there wasn't. They did some scenes at the end during the credits. Okay. But there was nothing at the end like the Marvel Cinematic Universe does, where you have to wait till the end of the credits in order to see it. Okay. The first movie I think did something like that, where he did the whole Ferris Bueller thing, where he's telling the audience to go home. Oh, okay. And do all that stuff. So, but yeah, we waited till the end, and there was nothing. But they did some really good shots at themselves at the end of this one. So
cool.
So yeah, really good. So that kind of got me on the kick of going back and seeing Marvel movies. Now, Deadpool's not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay. Because he's X-Force, X-Men, that type of thing. But I still wanted to go back and watch that. But I found this thing online that kind of tells you how to watch the movies in order, not in the order that they were released, but in the order chronologically.
Okay.
When they took place in time.
Okay. Yep. I think I saw that same thing.
Yeah. So, you start with Captain America, then you go into Agent Carter because they're including the TV shows as well.
Oh, shit. Okay. That's
so
a lot.
that caused me to start binge watching Agent Carter.
Gotcha.
As well. And then there's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is thrown into there, and a couple of the other Netflix Marvel things are. And it's a lot, and it's probably going to take me a long time to do that. So
we're going to be talking about Agent Carter on episode 40. Still watching it.
Still watching it.
Still going.
Actually, Agent Carter was on for 2 seasons, but only 9 episodes each season.
Okay.
So I'm actually on the end of season 2 with that. So it's been Captain America and Agent Carter. And then after that, I hit the Iron Man movies and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then that's pretty much it, except when we're talking about The Purge, and Marissa Tomei made me think of Marissa Tomei had a small role on Handmaid's Tale, and I've watched a couple episodes of season 2 of Handmaid's Tale.
That's good.
I love the show.
Good.
I really do.
That's on Hulu?
It is Hulu.
Okay.
Yep, Hulu original. And Elizabeth Moss, I think that's her name. She just does an incredible job as the main character for that, and the writing is really superb. And it makes you feel very, very uncomfortable. And I don't know if you know the premise of that.
I have no idea.
It's basically a totalitarian state after they haven't explained what, but something has happened across the world where women have become more sterile.
Okay.
And that the women who can conceive are then forced to become handmaids to the rich and famous in order to have children.
Yeah.
And when I say totalitarian state, basically men have taken over the United States and women are subservient.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's really, really interesting show.
Yeah, we'll check it out.
Yeah.
We're looking for a new show to watch. So
it's not one you want your kids to watch, though.
Yeah, I don't want to watch anything with my children at all. Just to be honest.
So that's pretty much it for me on what I've been watching.
Cool. I'm still really lame on the Marvel Universe movies. I tried. I quit. But I did recently acquire, my brother-in-law gave me Black Panther.
Okay.
And I was told I got to really watch that. And then I still have Spider-Man Homecoming to watch. And now I really want to watch it because they released the villain and the actor for Homecoming 2. And I'm really interested in that.
And that is?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yep.
Playing... Do you know?
I don't remember the character.
I don't want to say it because I think it's wrong. It's like so I don't want to look stupid. But also the return of Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. Yep.
And I heard he was really, really great.
He was
in Homecoming.
really good in Homecoming.
So, and Spider-Man has always been the one that I'm like, okay, I can watch Spider-Man. Who doesn't like Spider-Man?
And the kid who plays it, it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Because even though he's like in his mid-20s, he seems like he's 15, 16. He knows how to play a kid.
Yeah, and I saw him do Civil War, and I liked Civil War.
Yeah.
So, but beyond those, I tapped out on the Marvel thing. I can't do it. I admit defeat. I suck. So, but what I've been doing lately is have been trying to discover new horror films that are not really like super on the radar and that I've never seen. So I went back on Amazon and tried to find as many obscure, weird horror films from the 1980s. Because that was the decade that I'm like, I just thought horror was like fun as hell. And it's like a ton of that's the decade I like to dive into if I'm going to find new stuff. So, the first one so I went through and I looked through this whole list and I saved a bunch. So I'm working through a list now. So the first one I watched was a movie from 1981 called Final Exam. Have you heard or seen of it? Seen it?
The name is really familiar and I've probably seen it.
Okay. So, it's basically college, everybody getting ready to take their finals, and a killer is loose on campus and they're knocking off students one by one. That's basically the premise for any horror film in the 1980s. But it's not good, but it's watchable. I wouldn't go back and watch it again because it's kind of tough to get through. But it was just fun, and it's fun to look at different ways that people creatively came up to kill college kids or whatever in the 80s. So I watched that, went from there to the same year, 1981, I watched a movie called Madman. And it's a group of camp counselors out in the woods get told this story about a guy named Madman Mars. And if you say his name beyond a whisper, he will come back from the dead and kill everybody. So obviously after they get told this story, a kid stands up and shouts his name and stirs up shit. And Madman Mars comes back and just starts knocking off camp counselors. So that was kind of fun. Again, watchable. Not one I'd revisit, but I'm glad, that's what I've never seen before. I just checked it out. And I'm just throwing out random movies too, because I've never seen them. So I'm just kind of picking blind.
Well, I'm looking at, the cast of these movies, and it's like nobody we know.
Nobody.
And nobody we've ever seen again.
You won't. Yeah. So I went from there to a movie I had seen before. And I don't know why I picked this one. I think it was just the first one that came up. So I watched Nightmare on Elm Street 4, the Dream Master. The Nightmare on Elm Street movies get worse. And I didn't really realize that, but I loved the Nightmare on Elm Street. I remember seeing that when I was a kid, and it being one of those movies that scared the shit out of me because people are dying in their sleep. And it was based off of a real life story, I'm spacing on his name. Not Robert Englund, but the guy who wrote.
The guy who created it? Yep.
Yeah, Wes Craven. Thank
you.
Wes
Craven.
God, yep. I don't know why I forgot his name. But a story that he heard, and it stuck with him, and he wrote this character, Freddy Krueger, based off the story that he heard. And but yeah, Nightmare 4 was, again, okay. It wasn't the best one.
No, it was Dream Warriors?
It was Dream Master.
Dream Master.
Yeah. So...
was there one called Dream Warriors?
There was Nightmare on Elm Street 3 was called The Dream Warriors.
Okay. That one made me not want to see any of them after that.
It was a returning cast.
Yeah.
And Nightmare 4.
Okay.
So, Freddy Krueger doesn't have creative ways of killing people. He has one way of doing it, but it's his one-liners that really sell after Nightmare 2, I think. It's just became a one-liner movie. But again, Nightmare was fun. And then the last two movies that I had, 1988, a movie called 976 Evil came out.
Wow.
Ever heard of it?
I've never heard of that one.
I discovered this movie on VHS in my grandmother's basement.
So it begs to raise the question, why did your mother have this on VHS? Or grandmother have this on VHS?
My grandma married a guy named Dennis who would record random movies
on HBO and stuff like that.
HBO and Showtime or whatever. And then he just have you see 4, 5, 6 movies on one VHS tape.
Yep.
And he had a collection. And so when I go to my grandma's, it was boring and it was just nothing to do there. So I just go right to their basement and start going through all his. I did that with his tapes and his records. That's how I discovered a lot of music when I was a kid too.
Oh, awesome.
Was just going through his shit and being snooping through his shit. So he had a ton of VHS tapes. He had sort of discovered Meatballs and just a ton of those classic from comedies from the 80s too. But he had a ton of horror. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is where I found it. All this stuff. So 976 Evil he had on VHS. He taped off TV. And I was like, what's this one? And so that's where I first saw that movie when I was probably too young to see that movie. And then I cheated. I thought that 976 Evil 2 was the next year. It came out in 1992. So I jumped out of the 80s, I guess. But I watched 976 Evil 2 as well. They're the same movie.
So what did the numbers represent? Is it supposed to be like a phone number?
It's a phone number.
Okay.
It's a phone number. If you call it, it reads you your horoscope. And then bad things happen to you. And the first one followed one guy, but the second one followed different people or whatever. Again, they're not great movies, but 976 Evil I found on Blu-ray where I work, so I actually bought that. And 976 Evil 2 I found on Amazon Prime. So I'm just working my way through all these crazy, weird 80s movies that, again, I've never seen, but I'm excited to, plow through them. So, yeah.
While you were talking about that, there was another movie that I caught. And it's because I was thinking about the props that we had made for a couple of shoots that we've done. So I've 3D printed some fake guns for props. And while I was at work, I don't know why I thought of this, but thinking, how easy nowadays, or how you can't just walk around with anything like that nowadays. And back in the 80s, there was a game called Tag. Oh, now I know why I was thinking it, because there's the new movie Tag coming out.
Yeah, the new movie Tag coming out, yeah.
But the Tag back in the 80s, it was called Tag because there was this college game called Tactical Assassination Game, in which you were actually given dossiers that you would have to find this person on campus and then shoot them with a dart gun or something like that. Find a clever way to do this assassination. Okay. And that's what made me think of it, thinking, oh my God, you can't do that nowadays. In fact, UNL in the 90s, I think it was, or early 2000s, basically outlawed it on campus.
Yeah.
Because, here's a guy walking around with what looks like a gun or whatever, and it was like a Nerf gun, something like that. And a lot of campuses have said, no, we can't do that. So I did catch it on YouTube. Actually, someone had posted the original movie Tag: The Assassination Game, and it was it has Robert Carradine.
Yeah, that's
from the Nerds.
From what?
From the nerd movies.
Oh, Revenge of the Nerds?
Revenge of the Nerds and stuff like that. So he's the main guy. So he was in it, and a very young Linda Hamilton was in it as well. And it was...
what year was that?
Oh, gosh, I just turned my phone off here. It was
I'll see if
1982.
Was it T.A.G? That's how they spelled it?
T.A.G.
Oh, okay.
The Assassination Game.
Huh. I'm going to write it down.
Yeah. So it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube? Okay.
Yeah, someone posted the whole thing. It's not YouTube Red. It's just someone and it's so old and nobody cares that, to try to take it down or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting premise for it. It wasn't executed very well, but it's like this guy takes the game too seriously and starts actually killing people.
Okay.
So
I might check that out. Speaking of YouTube Red really quick, though, before we move on, you made it through... Have we talked about this on
I don't know
the
if we
yet?
have or not.
Well, let's chat for 2 seconds really quick. You made it through all of Cobra Kai.
I sure did.
And they just announced Season 2.
Yep.
So it must have done fairly well.
It did very well for them. Yes.
Overall thoughts. I've only made it through 3 episodes.
To me, it plays like a television version of Karate Kid, except older.
Okay.
So it is more of like a television drama type thing.
Yeah.
But it still brings back some of those feelings of Karate Kid. Not Karate Kid 2, not Karate Kid 3, or any of that other crap, or the remakes.
Yeah.
Because you actually have Daniel LaRusso in it. You actually have Johnny.
Yep.
And he's now running his own Cobra Kai.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? This guy can act.
He can. It's crazy.
He can act.
He's better. Who thought that? I said this, I think, the other day. I was like, who thought he would be a better actor than
Ralph Macchio?
Ralph Macchio.
In this, yeah.
He's really good.
And, Ralph Macchio, he's like, they're both in their late 50s.
Yeah.
And doing karate. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
Yeah.
But they're basically, not only are they covering their story, but the story of the kids that they're working with. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's just really, I think they handled it really well.
Yeah.
And I think that's how they ended up getting that second season. It's going to be interesting to see how YouTube Red develops and competes with Netflix and Hulu.
So their thing is all just original content, right? That's all.
That's my understanding. Everything is original content.
Okay. Yeah, I need to get the YouTube Red now because I've been sucked in and I want to finish it and I want to see how it.
Like I said, I just really enjoyed it. And there's flashbacks to the old movies, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I did see a scene. I'd wondered if they had referenced Mr. Miyagi at all. I did see a nice scene with him visiting his grave. His grave.
Yep.
That was nice. Yeah. And I saw clips from the tournament as well at the end. So, yeah, I'm excited to finish it.
Because I had watched those before the last time we met, so I must not have talked about it as.
I don't think we did.
It's one of the things that I had seen. So yeah. I highly recommend Cobra Kai on YouTube Red.
Cool.
Okay. Is that it?
I think that's what we've been watching.
I think that's what we've been watching. All right. Well, moving on to our feature segment, as we always do, as we review a movie.
Yeah.
And I before I introduce it, I just got to say, I think we have to go back to looking at what the ratings are before we watch the movie, before we pick a movie.
Oh, no. Okay.
Josh knows where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I do. But you want to...
I'll bring it in. The movie that we saw is the 2016, or was it 17?
It's 12.
Is it that?
2012.
I'm having trouble. 2012, yes, It is. 2012 Eli Roth movie, Aftershock. And
really quick, just in his defense, it was not an Eli Roth directed movie. He wrote it and he produced
and acted in it.
So it was only half his fault.
And I think maybe he did it just so he can get a free trip to Chile.
Yeah.
All right. In Chile, a group of travelers who are in an underground nightclub when a massive earthquake hits quickly learn that reaching the surface is just the beginning of their nightmare. On IMDb, 4.8 out of 10.
That's low.
Oh, you want to hear low?
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes, tomato meter, 37%. Audience score, 24.
That's not even fair. That's a terrible score. That's really low. And
that's 24% out of 7,041 reviewers.
I don't agree with any of those numbers at all.
I totally do.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay, well then you should start. And let's play. Okay. Let's play. This is what I hate about it, and I'll sit here and I'll defend it.
I guess one of the things that got to me, and I should have understood it more being an Eli Roth movie, that it wasn't going to necessarily be horror per se. Horror.
It was the least of his horror films he's done.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was kind of thinking it was going to be horror more than what it was, because to me it was more of a massacre.
It was would you call it thriller?
I don't know if I'd call it a thriller either.
No.
And so I wanted things to get going quickly.
Yeah.
But it was 34 minutes.
I thought the same thing.
34 minutes, 22 seconds from the start of the movie before the earthquake happened.
Yeah.
I knew that because I stopped it at some point and said, when is this shit going to happen?
Yeah, okay, I got you. Yep, I agree with that.
And so when it did happen, I went ahead and paused it again so I can get the number. So it was, 34 minutes, 22 seconds from the start of the movie.
Okay.
When something finally fucking happened.
Yeah.
And I said, finally. And from that point on, I just didn't care.
Okay.
And I think it's because I had trouble buying into it from the beginning.
Okay. Do you think they did
because they made me wait too long?
Okay. Do you think they did too much they tried to do too much character development, and then but the development never really happened.
I think that's part of it.
Or they wrote characters that you just did not give a shit about.
They were characters I really didn't care about.
Yeah.
I didn't care about any of them. Yes, horrible things happen to them, and I should feel bad when certain things happen to certain people.
Yeah.
And since 2012, we're doing spoilers.
Yeah.
Like when when the young woman was being raped twice.
Yeah.
Yes, that's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. But to follow that up with what happens to her right after that when she's being rescued, it's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know? And it's one of those things where I'm okay with people dying in movies.
Yeah.
The end
was fucking awesome. Come on. It's okay. Before we get to the end, I do agree with you on the front of I did not remember it taking that long to get going.
Now, had you seen this one prior to?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is why I threw it out there, because I was like, I remember loving Aftershock. I looked for it for a long time. You couldn't find it streaming anywhere. And then I found it one day and I was like, holy shit, Aftershock. I'm totally watching that. And it was in my queue. So I was like, whenever we have the next chance to throw out a movie, I'm throwing out Aftershock. And, because I love Eli Roth. I love the stuff he does. I'm just a fan. So I agree on the front of it takes a long time to get going. The conversations and the bouncing between clubs.
It could have started at the club and
the club,
and 15 minutes of character development and then move on.
Yeah, they easily could have cut that time in half.
Yeah.
But there was some fun stuff that kind of happened too that I forgot, and then I saw it and I was like, holy shit. Like when they're climbing out of the tunnel and up the ladder and the one lady goes first and she sticks her head up onto the street level and her head gets knocked off by the car.
Yeah.
Those stuff like that. I was like, oh, that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
That's not what I watched the movie for. I did remember caring about people as I was watching it and wondering what was going to happen to them.
I will have to say that the character I cared about the most was actually played by Eli Roth.
Oh, really?
Because they did character development, that he had a daughter.
They followed him,
And he was the most... no, I don't want to say that. I was going to say he was probably the most noble out of all of them. But actually, the bigger guy, I can't remember his name. Yeah. I mean, he was probably the most noble. But still, again, Eli Roth not turning in where the girls were to the point of being burned alive.
Yeah. And even when he actually does turn them in, he doesn't even say it. He does that little, like, eye movement to the left or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they're over there, but I'm not going to say it out loud.
Right.
And then gets burned anyway. Sucks.
Well, because he threw a rock.
Yeah, he threw a rock and hit the guy. And,
well, he didn't even hit the guy. It was way off. It's like the guy heard the noise, turned around, and just went ahead and torched
Pissed
him.
him off. Yeah.
But yeah, I know that's his style of movie, is people dying, people getting killed in extravagant ways. Mm-hmm. That's his type of movie, and I should have remembered that going into it.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just like, I wanted to care more. And they spent 34 minutes trying to make me care. And on the back 50 minutes, I just didn't.
The part where the fireman and everything is going back down into those tunnels, the reveal, did that get you at all?
I figured it out.
Oh, you did?
I mean, I had my suspicions anyway.
Okay.
Because when they were talking about it at the gates, where they were trying to get into that gated community, or not the gated community, but the with the other people.
Yeah.
And they were all talking about, we're not prisoners, we don't have tattoos, and he was the only one not showing anything. Like,
well, I thought everybody else he rolled his sleeves up, but maybe not.
Yeah.
I thought he did. But
yeah, he was the only one who didn't really respond to that. And so I kind of figured that out. I just didn't think he was gonna finish the one girl off so quickly.
Yeah. and off camera
and off camera.
They showed everything else,
and I was surprised that on almost all the deaths were on screen except for that one and for the bigger guy. His was off screen as well
because he died behind a trash can.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Because they shot him. Right.
They shot him, but they cut to the rest of the group and then did a sound effect, and they all reacted to the gunshot.
Yeah. When they're running through that graveyard.
Yeah. So I was kind of surprised, that those two deaths were actually off screen because he's so glorious about his death scenes.
Yeah. The one girl that dies in the tunnels, that's Eli Roth's wife.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and I've seen her in a couple other things since. She was in Knock Knock, and she was I think she was in Green Inferno as well. So it was which are newer. So it's kind of fun to go back to watch her in an older movie to see kind of how she developed.
Right.
She's gotten better.
I hope so.
I think Green Inferno was great, and Knock Knock was different. But that ending, when she finally sees freedom, and she's standing there celebrating on the beach, and the tsunami that they've been talking about for an hour finally shows up behind her, and she starts to run, and then they just cut. I was like, I just thought that was so awesome to do that. That's my kind of ending. Ask Greg. Nobody lives in anything that I try to write.
Right. And I do like movies like that where I like that as a change.
Yeah.
As a change up that nobody's safe.
Yeah.
It's like, she starts laughing hysterically and then cries and then passes out. And I'm like, okay, cut to black. We're done.
Yeah.
No, she wakes up, turns around, and here's this 100-yard high wave coming at her. And I'm just like, son of a bitch.
That's what she should have said. She should have been son of a bitch.
Instead of running. Because how do you run away from a tsunami when you're on the beach?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no way.
So, yeah. I mean, hi, cat.
You can move him. You can put him down on the floor.
I just try not to be a jerk.
No, you can. He's kind of a pain in the butt. Yeah, we have a cat that's sitting up on our table while we're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
And
he was trying to join. He's going to be our third.
Yeah.
What'd you think of Aftershock? Nothing?
He's sitting at the microphone.
Creepy eye? All right.
Yeah, it's creepy eye. So, yeah, probably more interesting than Greg.
Yeah. Oh, burn. At least the cat showed up. Yeah, sorry, Greg. He's going to hear this back and be like, I'm never coming back. Yeah, I mean, is that all you kind of had to say on Aftershock?
That's pretty much all I had to say on Aftershock. Not my cup of tea.
Had you liked it, you might have said more, but
yeah,
maybe you're right. Maybe I guess we got to go check out the scores before we check some stuff out.
So I think we need to force Greg to watch this one.
He may have watched it, and then
I doubt it.
Probably not.
Yeah, because he waits till the last minute.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we should force him to watch it.
I'd be curious to see
what he thinks of it. Yeah.
I have not been very. I have had a lot more misses on Greg lately than hits because I've loaned him some movies. I loaned him The Purge. He hated it.
I thought he liked one of them though.
The Purge was the first one he'd ever seen, and he hated it. He's not seen the other two.
See, I think Election Year is probably my fafavorite of
Election Year is
the
definitely
three
my favorite,
so far.
Yeah. So, you want to give scores real quick, I guess, then, so we can wrap the Aftershock up.
Yeah, Aftershock on the seismometer rating, I would give it a 1.5.
Oh my fucking lord!
No, I would probably put it at about a 4 or 5.
I was like, come on, that's me picking the worst movie we've ever seen, and this was better than I mean. It's different, but I thought it was better than Poughkeepsie Tapes.
It was more entertaining than Poughkeepsie Tapes, yeah. I like the idea of Poughkeepsie Tapes better than this one.
So a 4?
I think 4 or 5.
Okay,
right around there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go high on. I mean, not super high, but I'd say a 7. I'd say a fair 7. I'd say go watch Aftershock. It was on Netflix. at least give it a shot. I thought it was fun. So that's just me, though. I like Eli Roth.
And you can watch it for free if you have Netflix.
Yeah, it's free.
So I guess it's not really free because you're paying for Netflix,
yeah.
But it's not like, you're not going out and renting it just for that sake.
Yeah.
But it is on Netflix.
Yeah. So I guess, God damn it, I've hit this mic. I've punched it like 4 times.
I keep thumping this one, too.
So yeah, that's Aftershock, I guess.
All right.
We didn't have anything else.
I don't think
our
we had anything else.
podcasts lately have been. I think the last one we did was like 30 minutes.
This is about 45.
So we're running kind of light because we're missing people. But
we're missing people.
Plugs.
Well, I think one of the things we should talk about next time, because you'll have even more of it done, is for you to talk about your experience of editing.
Oh fuck! It won't go well at all. It'll be a nightmare for an hour, just me like bitching and whining like a giant crybaby.
But I think there's some
tool.
But I think you're gonna walk away from it with a better understanding when it comes to directing.
Oh yeah, sorry, we're just rambling, but there's a ton of times I wrote down on a piece of paper. It just said, "Stop calling cut so soon." That's it.
That was one of the biggest things I learned.
And I knew that. That's the bullshit thing is I knew that from past experiences. We got to a point on that set where it was like, we got to be done.
We got to roll.
So
yeah.
It was like we'd roll and then be like, all right, cut. Let's go to the next one. And now when you go back to the editing bay and you're watching that shit, you're like, I wish I had 15 more seconds of just like letting it go.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we can do that, but it's just going to be me going,
oh no,
this fucking sucks.
But I think it'll be interesting from the point of view of Greg and I, who've done it a couple of times now, and then talking to you from essentially your first time actually doing it. Is that right?
I cut a behind the scenes thing for Remission when we did that. But that was like, I could just pick and choose what behind the scenes clip I wanted to show.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, you don't have to be very...
You weren't trying to tell a story with it.
Yeah, you don't tell a story with it. Yeah, this is definitely the first time I've actually had to sit down and eat shit. So, yeah.
No, I think that'll be a good topic for the next time.
Yeah.
It'll be different than something that we've done before.
I'll call it Sound, my living nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I will say sound is one of the most difficult things to do when
it's
editing.
awful. It's the worst, especially when you do it wrong.
Yeah.
So, cool.
All right.
Plugs.
So plugs. I really don't have anything to plug right now that I'm aware of.
All right.
I really don't.
Well, I mean, I don't have anything beyond the find us at Midnight Fright Films on the Facebook and midnightfrightfilms.com. And I think we're on the Instagram.
We're Instagram and
we
Twitter.
tweet sometimes. Yep. And you can find Midnight Fright Film stuff on YouTube. Nothing new, but there's definitely new things on the horizon.
Yep.
And the only other thing is Prairie Lights Film Festival.
Prairie Lights Film Festival. And it sounds like Greg got his submission in for the best.
The best, yep. I let Matt know that was coming.
Okay.
So that should be playing hopefully at Prairie Lights.
Yep.
Hopefully that announcement will come soon. I'm hoping to get before the compound, if it doesn't suck complete ass, submitted. And then I know you got something in the works as well.
I would like to get that one submitted as well and showing there. I would like to not miss a year.
Yeah. So
and mine, that one's completely feasible to get done in short amount of time.
That's a location.
It's a location thing right now. So
yeah, but Prairie Lights Film Festival, October 12th, 13th, 14th. I believe I got that right.
Yep.
In Grand Island, Nebraska, at the historic Grand Theater. They're pushing hard now. Like, they're starting to talk about it. You can hear it. The Prairie Lights podcast, I think they're doing that again this year. So you'll start seeing stuff. I'll be sharing that all over the place. And you'll hear announcements. If you go on the Prairie Lights Film Festival Facebook page, you'll see all the announcements so far. It's a kick-ass festival. It's super cheap for the weekend. You're going to see a ton of films and hang out with all the filmmakers. And the one thing I push is if you're a filmmaker yourself or somebody that's interested in getting into filmmaking, it's the perfect place to go because you will run into people that will pretty much tell you exactly kind of how to start and go about it.
Yep.
So
really supportive group of people.
Yeah. So that's the plugs.
All right. So I think that's it for this podcast.
31.
So, number 31. We'll be back in a couple of weeks, hopefully, knock on wood, with a couple more people.
Yes, there's no more promises.
No more promises. We're going to hope. We're going to hope and pray, just like our government does. So, all right. So we're going to head out then. Everybody take it easy.
See you later.